Hello everyone. So firstly, I just want to say thank you for everyone's response and likes and shares on the first video. Really well received, and it was really nice to see some feedback and comments about how people will use it. Interestingly, one of the things I do want to point out is how it's prompted me to reiterate something that I knew already, but it's worth pointing out that people will want to use this and interpret it in different ways and use it across different walks of their lives, and that's exactly what I was after. I was trying to very simply and basically outline a simple method of coping and working through certain things that can be interpreted to lots of different walks of life. So absolutely do that, and hopefully most of these videos will be similar in that vein. So today I'm going to talk about something that is a little bit different but quite linked to the first video. And that's boiling down things. So you might have heard this terminology quite a lot. It's sort of marketing business speak. Let's boil it down. Let's boil it down. And I kind of hate those kind of terminologies, but this one works really well. My interpretation of boiling it down really is to help understand and help devise better methods of completion of tasks if things are getting a bit out of hand. And I think that can definitely translate across the real world, personal lives as well as business lives. So to start off, I'm just going to explain what I mean by boiling it down, and the best way of describing it really is if you visualize kind of your main objectives being tenfold. So you've got 10 different things you're working towards. At any given point, any given day, you'll be at different stages of all of those 10 different objectives. And they can definitely get in the way of each other a bit, and they can definitely frustrate and stress you out that you're doing certain things at certain times, and you're getting somewhere with something and you're really struggling to progress with another thing. And I think it can be really easy to get mixed up with that, and then it can be strained with working relationships or personal relationships because you're talking through different methods of how to do things, and people are getting cross wires, communications faltering a little bit. Boiling it down helps me in that situation, in that the best way that I do it is I try and stay on top of communicating to myself how things are going. There's lots of different apps, there's lots of different things out there for how you label out your different objectives and how you work through what you're doing. There's sort of different sort of tools around sort of task orientated things. So I'm a bit between the old and the new. I don't write everything down in pen and pencil and things like that, but I do write everything down just in note format on Microsoft Notes. And lots of people use sort of more high tech options, things like Slack and Trello and communication tools around tasks. Anyway, what I do is I try and sort of make notes at any different stage of the progress that's being made. What I'd like to talk about though is boiling those down. So when you're talking to colleagues or people in your personal life, or even if you're just sort of trying to get ahead of things yourself, boil it down. Work out the smallest bit of simplistic information that you need to do to progress. And don't get hung up on something that's really tricky or gone off on a complete tangent. And the best way of doing that really is noting everything down that you've been doing, that you've been working through, comments that have been made, and are they relevant? Take a step back. Are they relevant? Refocus on your absolute objectives that you were trying to get through at the start, and sort of try and build that line back up to getting towards that end goal, that objective at the end. And how that translates to personal life, I mean, frankly speaking, if you're kind of in a quite sort of a quite mixed up situation in your personal life, or there's lots of different things happening at once, often it is really good to just sit and try and take a step back and boil down what you're trying to achieve. Are you trying to develop yourself as a person? Are you trying to develop a relationship? Are you trying to make someone happy within your life? Are you trying to gain something out of something personal? Find that objective that suits you. Work out what you have been doing, which is getting you towards that objective, and work out what you've been doing that isn't getting you anywhere near it. And focus on the right one in those situations. It's quite simple, really, and I think in some ways people will admit that that's kind of how people have utilised diaries in the past. The old-fashioned diary. And I certainly never have used a diary, but in modern times I certainly do make notes at the end of a night, based on moods and things like that, and just try and reflect on kind of good things that happened, and try and sort of focus on the positive and make sure I'm focused towards goals. and be as orientated as possible without getting mixed up in the haze of it all. And so that's how I boil things down. I try and reflect on the simple things and keep on the same track. But that's how I present boiling things down. I think a lot of other people think boiling things down is a different terminology. You know, explaining something who doesn't know what they're talking around, if they're getting sort of mixed up with something. Let's boil this down. Let's explain it differently. What we're trying to achieve here. But ultimately, it can be spread across lots of different walks of life. So hopefully, you'll boil things down in the future, and you'll be able to get back on them goals if you're struggling, you get mixed up and everything. But yeah, use those methods I've outlined. Give me any comments, questions, feedback. If I'm completely wrong here, tell me. I'm thick-skinned, and I'll speak to you soon. Stay safe.